Every day, life will present you with moments designed to test not your intelligence, not your talent, but your ability to remain still when everything inside you wants to react. A careless word, a broken promise, an unexpected betrayal, a voice raised against you. These moments do not reveal who the other person is. They reveal who you have become. Most people believe strength is measured by how quickly they defend themselves, how loudly they speak, or how fiercely they fight back. But true strength moves differently. It does not rush, it does not chase, it does not need to announce itself. Like a mountain standing through storms, it remains unmoved, while everything around it trembles. An emotionally strong woman understands something that many spend their entire lives trying to learn. The first emotion that rises within you is not always the truth. Anger arrives quickly, fear speaks loudly, pride demands immediate action. But wisdom waits. Wisdom listens. Wisdom allows the storm within to settle before choosing a direction. There is an incredible power hidden inside a single moment of silence. A few quiet seconds can prevent years of regret. A calm breath can stop words that would never be taken back. A composed heart can see possibilities that an emotional mind could never recognize. This is why those who possess true inner strength rarely react immediately. They understand that every reaction is a decision, and every decision shapes the person they are becoming. People may mistake your silence for weakness. Let them. They may assume your calmness means you have nothing to say. Let them think so. The strongest souls have never depended on the opinions of others to confirm their worth. They know that peace is not something to protect after the battle. It is something to protect before the battle even begins. When you stop allowing every opinion to disturb you, every criticism to wound you, and every insult to define you, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your energy returns. Your mind becomes clear. Your presence becomes powerful without demanding attention. You no longer seek control over other people because you have discovered something far more valuable: the ability to govern yourself. Quiet power is invisible to those who only admire noise. It is found in the woman who chooses dignity over drama, patience over panic, and understanding over revenge. She has learned that not every challenge deserves her response, not every conflict deserves her presence, and not every opinion deserves space inside her heart. The world will always try to convince you that speed is strength. But nature teaches a different lesson. The deepest rivers move without shouting. The tallest trees grow without applause. The brightest stars shine without asking anyone to notice. Real power has never depended on volume. It depends on stability. So before you answer the next criticism, before you respond to the next disappointment, before you allow another person's behavior to control your emotions, ask yourself one simple question. Is this reaction creating the woman I want to become, or is it simply feeding the moment? Because the woman who masters that single question begins a journey that very few people ever complete. A journey where silence becomes confidence, patience becomes influence, and emotional control becomes the greatest form of freedom anyone can ever possess. There is a moment that exists between what happens to you and what you choose to do about it. Most people never notice this moment because they move too quickly. They feel offended and they speak. They feel disappointed and they react. They feel ignored and they withdraw or attack. Their emotions become the driver of their actions before wisdom has a chance to arrive. But emotionally strong women learn to protect this small space between the event and the response, because within that space lies the greatest form of personal power. The pause is not hesitation born from fear. It is deliberate stillness born from self-control. It is the quiet decision to remain the master of your inner world, rather than becoming a prisoner of your first emotion. When someone criticizes you unfairly, your heart may beat faster. Your mind immediately begins creating arguments, explanations, and ways to defend yourself. This is natural. Every human being experiences emotional impulses. Strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is the ability to experience emotion without allowing it to control your behavior. A woman who understands this does not suppress her feelings. She observes them. She notices the anger rising, the disappointment growing, or the frustration building, but she refuses to let these emotions make decisions on her behalf. Imagine standing beside a lake. When the water is disturbed by strong winds, you cannot clearly see your reflection. Everything becomes distorted, but when the wind settles, the surface becomes calm, revealing everything with remarkable clarity. The human mind works in exactly the same way. Emotional storms distort judgment. During moments of intense emotion, small problems appear enormous, harmless words seem like attacks, and temporary situations feel permanent. The pause gives the mind enough time for the emotional waves to settle, so that wisdom can finally become visible. Many people believe reacting immediately demonstrates confidence, but in reality, instant reactions often reveal dependency. They show that someone else has gained control over your emotional state. If another person's words can instantly determine your mood, your behavior, or your peace, then they possess more influence over your life than they deserve. An emotionally strong woman quietly refuses to hand over that power. She remembers that self-respect begins with self-governance. Before anyone else can influence her actions, she first asks herself whether her response aligns with her values rather than her emotions. This habit is built through daily practice, not through extraordinary moments. It begins in ordinary conversations, small misunderstandings, and everyday disappointments. Instead of interrupting, she listens completely. Instead of replying to every message the moment it appears, she allows herself time to think. Instead of defending herself against every criticism, she asks whether the criticism contains truth or whether it should simply be released without carrying its weight. Every pause strengthens the mind, just as every repetition strengthens a muscle. Silence during the pause is not empty. It is filled with observation. It allows questions to arise that emotional reactions never permit. Why did these words affect me so deeply? Is this situation truly important a week from now? Am I responding to what is happening today, or am I reacting to wounds from the past? These questions transform ordinary experiences into opportunities for self-understanding. Instead of becoming another victim of circumstances, she becomes a student of her own mind. The world often celebrates speed, instant replies, instant opinions, instant decisions. Yet nature reminds us that everything of lasting value develops with patience. A seed does not become a tree overnight. A river does not carve through stone through force alone, but through consistent, patient movement. Likewise, emotional mastery is created through countless moments where choosing stillness feels more difficult than reacting. Every pause strengthens discipline. Every calm breath weakens impulsiveness. Every thoughtful response builds a character that cannot easily be shaken. People may misunderstand this quiet approach. Some will assume silence means uncertainty. Others may mistake patience for weakness. But emotionally strong women no longer seek validation from those who judge only appearances. They understand that the loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The strongest is often the one who remains centered, while everyone else loses control. She recognizes that every unnecessary argument avoided preserves energy for what truly matters. Every unnecessary reaction prevented protects her peace, her dignity, and her future decisions. Over time, this simple habit of pausing before responding becomes more than a technique. It becomes a way of living, allowing every action to arise from clarity instead of chaos, from purpose instead of pressure, and from inner strength instead of emotional impulse. Every emotion carries a message, but not every emotion should be given authority. This is one of the most important lessons an emotionally strong woman learns throughout her life. Feelings are real, but they are temporary. They rise like waves, reach their highest point, and eventually fall away. The mistake many people make is believing that because an emotion feels powerful, it must also be right. They allow anger to become justice, fear to become truth, and sadness to become identity. Yet, emotional strength begins when you recognize that emotions are visitors, not permanent residents. They deserve to be acknowledged, but they should never be allowed to rule your life. Think about the sky on a stormy day. Dark clouds may cover every inch of blue, making it seem as though the sun has disappeared forever, but the sun has not vanished. It remains exactly where it has always been. The clouds are only passing through. In the same way, your emotions can temporarily cloud your judgment without changing who you truly are. Anger may convince you that someone deserves your harshest words. Fear may persuade you that you are incapable. Hurt may whisper that you are unworthy of love or respect. But these are passing clouds. If you act while standing beneath them, you often create consequences that remain long after the emotion has disappeared. An emotionally strong woman does not reject her emotions because she understands they are part of being human. She allows herself to feel disappointment when trust is broken. She accepts sadness when something valuable is lost. She acknowledges frustration when life becomes difficult. The difference is that she does not build her decisions upon these emotions alone. She first asks, "What is this feeling trying to teach me?" rather than asking, "How can I satisfy this feeling immediately?" That single question transforms emotion from a master into a guide. Many people spend years trying to escape uncomfortable emotions. They distract themselves with constant entertainment, endless work, unhealthy relationships, or endless conversations that never solve the real problem. They believe peace comes from avoiding pain, but emotionally strong women discover the opposite. Peace comes from facing emotions honestly without becoming consumed by them. When fear appears, they do not immediately run away. When anger arises, they do not instantly strike back. When insecurity speaks, they do not allow it to write the story of their future. Instead, they sit quietly with the feeling until they understand its purpose. Self-awareness becomes their greatest companion. They begin recognizing patterns that once controlled them without their knowledge. Perhaps criticism always triggers defensiveness because they spent years trying to earn approval. Perhaps rejection creates overwhelming anxiety because past experiences left deep emotional scars. Perhaps silence from others creates fear because they mistake quietness for abandonment. Rather than blaming the outside world, they gently examine the roots growing within themselves. This is not self-judgment. It is self-discovery. Every emotion becomes an opportunity to understand themselves more deeply. Emotions become dangerous only when they are denied or obeyed blindly. Denying them causes pressure to build beneath the surface until eventually it erupts in unexpected ways. Blindly obeying them creates impulsive decisions that often damage relationships, careers, and personal peace. Emotional mastery lives between these two extremes. It is the ability to feel deeply while remaining grounded. It is allowing your heart to experience life fully while asking your mind to choose the direction. This balance requires discipline every single day. There will always be moments when immediate satisfaction feels easier than patient wisdom. A sharp reply feels easier than calm understanding. Walking away in anger feels easier than having a thoughtful conversation. Giving in to fear feels easier than taking the next courageous step. Yet each time an emotionally strong woman chooses wisdom over impulse, she strengthens a part of herself that cannot be shaken by changing circumstances. Her confidence no longer depends upon perfect situations because it is rooted in her ability to navigate imperfect ones. Over time, people begin to notice something different about her presence. She does not panic when unexpected problems appear. She does not lose herself in emotional chaos when others become overwhelmed. She listens more than she speaks. She thinks before she acts. Her calmness is not the result of an easy life, but of a trained mind. She has learned that while she cannot always control what life brings to her door, she can always choose how she welcomes it into her heart. That choice becomes the quiet foundation of her strength, allowing every emotion to pass through her without taking ownership of her peace, her dignity, or the direction of her life. There is a kind of confidence that seeks attention, and there is another that needs none at all. The first announces itself through loud words, constant explanations, and the desire to be seen. The second is almost invisible, yet everyone can feel its presence. Emotionally strong women understand that true confidence is not measured by how much space you occupy in a conversation, but by how firmly you remain rooted within yourself. This is the secret of quiet power. It is the ability to stand in your truth without feeling the need to prove it to anyone. Many people mistake silence for weakness because they have been taught that the strongest voice is the loudest one. Society often rewards those who argue quickly, defend themselves immediately, and always have the final word. Yet life repeatedly reveals a different reality. The people who possess the deepest inner confidence rarely feel pressured to convince others of their worth. They understand that confidence is not built through winning every disagreement, but through maintaining peace even when disagreements arise. Imagine an ancient tree standing in the middle of a forest. During a storm, the smaller branches shake violently, while the great trunk remains steady. The tree does not fight the wind. It does not demand that the storm stop. It simply remains deeply rooted. In the same way, a woman with quiet confidence does not become unsettled by every opinion, every criticism, or every misunderstanding. Her stability comes from roots that reach far deeper than the changing weather of other people's emotions. This kind of confidence cannot be borrowed from compliments, achievements, or social approval. Those things are pleasant, but they are temporary. If your confidence depends entirely on how others see you, then every criticism will weaken you, and every rejection will make you question your value. Emotionally strong women choose a different foundation. They build their confidence through integrity. They know who they are when no one is watching. They keep promises to themselves. They act according to their principles, even when it would be easier not to. This quiet consistency becomes stronger than any praise the world could offer. Silence plays an important role in this process because it creates space for observation instead of reaction. While others rush to speak, she listens. While others seek attention, she notices what is happening beneath the surface. Listening carefully often reveals more than speaking endlessly ever could. People's fears, intentions, and character frequently become visible when you are patient enough to observe instead of interrupting. Quietness sharpens awareness, and awareness protects wisdom. There are moments when people will misunderstand your silence. They may believe you have no answer because you do not respond immediately. They may assume your calmness means uncertainty. Some may even try harder to provoke you, hoping to pull you into emotional conflict. But emotionally strong women understand that not every invitation deserves acceptance. Just because someone offers an argument does not mean you must participate. Just because someone misunderstands you does not mean you must correct every assumption. Sometimes the greatest display of confidence is allowing others to hold opinions that do not define you. Quiet power also protects your energy. Every unnecessary explanation, every endless debate, and every attempt to gain approval consumes emotional strength that could be invested elsewhere. A confident woman becomes selective with her words because she understands their value. She speaks when her words can bring clarity, encouragement, or truth. She remains silent when speaking would only feed confusion, pride, or unnecessary conflict. Her silence is not empty, it is intentional. It reflects self-respect rather than fear. Over time, this quiet confidence transforms the way others experience her presence. She does not need to dominate conversations for people to notice her. She does not need to compete for attention because her composure naturally draws respect. When challenges arise, she remains centered. When others panic, she remains thoughtful. When emotions rise around her, she does not absorb their chaos. This steadiness becomes reassuring to those around her because genuine confidence has a calming influence. It reminds others that strength is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is found in the person who remains peaceful while everyone else is losing control. The greatest gift of quiet confidence is freedom. When you no longer depend on constant validation, you stop living according to other people's expectations. You stop measuring your worth by applause or criticism. Your decisions become guided by values instead of approval. Your relationships become healthier because they are built on authenticity rather than performance. Your mind becomes lighter because you are no longer carrying the exhausting burden of proving yourself. In that freedom, silence becomes more than the absence of words. It becomes a language of dignity, a reflection of inner certainty, and a quiet expression of a heart that already knows its own value without asking the world for permission to believe it. One of the greatest signs of emotional maturity is recognizing that not every battle deserves your attention. Many people spend their lives trying to prove they are right, defending themselves against every accusation, correcting every misunderstanding, and answering every criticism. They believe that winning arguments will bring them peace. Yet the opposite is often true. The more they fight for validation, the more exhausted they become. Emotionally strong women eventually discover a profound truth. Peace is far more valuable than the temporary satisfaction of winning an argument. This does not mean they become passive or allow others to mistreat them. It means they become wise enough to distinguish between what is worth confronting and what is worth releasing. There is a significant difference between standing up for your values and becoming trapped in endless conflict. Wisdom knows where to invest energy. Pride spends energy without asking whether the outcome is worthwhile. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every day. At first, the weight seems manageable. Then, with each unnecessary resentment, every old argument, every harsh comment replayed in your mind, another stone is added to the bag. Eventually, even a short walk becomes exhausting. Many people do not realize that they are carrying burdens they were never meant to keep. Every unresolved desire to prove themselves right becomes another weight on their spirit. An emotionally strong woman learns to set those stones down, not because they never mattered, but because carrying them any longer serves no purpose. There will always be people who misunderstand your intentions. Some will judge you without knowing your story. Others will create opinions based on their own fears, insecurities, or limited understanding. If you make it your mission to change every opinion, you will sacrifice your own peace, chasing something you can never fully control. You cannot control how others choose to see you. You can only control whether their opinions are allowed to disturb your inner world. This understanding requires humility. The ego desperately wants the final word. It wants recognition. It wants everyone to admit that it was correct. But the heart that has matured realizes something remarkable. Being right does not always make life better. Sometimes insisting on being right destroys relationships, deepens resentment, and creates wounds that could have been avoided with a little patience and compassion. There are moments when preserving connection is more valuable than proving a point. There are also moments when walking away quietly demonstrates greater courage than continuing a meaningless argument. Emotionally strong women understand that silence is not surrender. Choosing not to argue is not admitting defeat. It is choosing a higher purpose. When someone speaks from anger, responding with more anger only feeds the fire. But calmness has the power to interrupt the cycle. It creates space where understanding can eventually grow. Even when the other person never changes, your decision to remain peaceful protects your own character from becoming shaped by bitterness. This way of living also transforms how disappointment is handled. Not every expectation will be met. Not every friendship will last. Not every effort will receive appreciation. If your peace depends upon perfect outcomes, life will continually leave you frustrated. But when peace becomes an inner decision rather than an external reward, circumstances lose their power to control your happiness. You begin to realize that serenity is something you cultivate from within, regardless of what is happening around you. There is tremendous freedom in accepting that some conversations will remain unfinished. Some people will never apologize. Some questions will never receive satisfying answers. Some chapters of life will close without the closure you hoped for. Instead of remaining trapped in endless mental arguments, emotionally strong women gently accept reality as it is. Acceptance is not agreement. It is simply the refusal to waste today's peace fighting yesterday's battles. Protecting your inner peace also means becoming selective about where your attention goes. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Whatever consistently receives your attention gradually shapes your mind. If you constantly focus on insults, conflict, and negativity, your inner world begins to resemble them. But when you intentionally direct your attention toward growth, gratitude, wisdom, and meaningful relationships, your character becomes stronger with every passing day. Peace is not something that appears by accident. It is the result of countless daily choices about what deserves a place in your heart and what should simply be allowed to pass by. As this understanding deepens, something beautiful begins to emerge. You stop measuring success by how many arguments you have won and start measuring it by how much peace you have preserved. Your confidence no longer depends on defeating others because your greatest victory is mastering yourself. You become slower to judge, quicker to forgive, and far less interested in proving your worth through conflict. In protecting your inner peace, You discover a strength that no argument can give and no disagreement can ever take away, allowing your life to be guided by quiet wisdom instead of restless pride, and by lasting fulfillment instead of temporary victories. Every human being is given the ability to react, but very few develop the discipline to respond with wisdom. A reaction is automatic. It happens in an instant, driven by emotion, habit, or instinct. A response, however, is intentional. It is thoughtful. It reflects not only what has happened in the moment, but also the values you have chosen to live by. Emotionally strong women understand this distinction, and it becomes one of the defining qualities of their character. They know that life is not determined by what happens to them, but by the quality of the choices they make after each experience. There will always be situations that invite impulsive behavior. Someone may insult your character, ignore your efforts, betray your trust, or challenge your patience. In those moments, your emotions will naturally urge you to act immediately. Anger will demand revenge. Pride will demand that you defend yourself. Fear will encourage you to withdraw or avoid confrontation altogether. These impulses are powerful because they promise immediate relief. Yet immediate relief often creates long-term regret. Words spoken in anger can damage relationships that took years to build. Decisions made in fear can close doors that courage would have opened. A single impulsive action can leave consequences that remain long after the emotion has faded. Responding with wisdom begins by accepting responsibility for your inner world. It means recognizing that although you cannot always control the behavior of others, you always have influence over your own behavior. This understanding shifts your focus away from blame and towards growth. Instead of asking, "Why did they do this to me?" you begin asking, "What is the wisest way for me to move forward?" That question changes everything. It transforms you from someone controlled by circumstances into someone guided by purpose. Wisdom also requires perspective. In the middle of an emotional moment, everything feels urgent. Every disagreement appears significant. Every criticism feels personal, but emotionally strong women have trained themselves to step back and see beyond the present emotion. They ask themselves whether this situation will matter next week, next month, or next year. Many conflicts lose their importance when viewed from a wider perspective. What seemed worth fighting over often becomes insignificant with time. This ability to see the larger picture prevents countless unnecessary struggles. Responding with wisdom does not mean becoming emotionally distant or indifferent. It means allowing compassion to guide your strength. There are times when a firm response is necessary. Boundaries must sometimes be established. Difficult conversations cannot always be avoided. However, even these moments can be handled with dignity instead of hostility. A wise response seeks resolution rather than revenge. It speaks clearly without becoming cruel. It remains honest without losing kindness. This balance is difficult, but it is one of the greatest signs of emotional maturity. Life itself becomes a teacher for those willing to learn. Every disappointment teaches patience. Every failure teaches resilience. Every misunderstanding teaches humility. Every success teaches gratitude. Emotionally strong women stop viewing experiences as enemies and begin seeing them as opportunities for refinement. Instead of asking why life is difficult, they ask what life is trying to teach them. This mindset transforms obstacles into lessons and pain into wisdom. The practice of responding wisely also strengthens relationships. People feel safe around someone who does not react unpredictably. They trust a person who listens before speaking, who seeks understanding before making assumptions, and who remains calm when emotions become intense. Such a presence creates stability in families, friendships, and workplaces. Others begin to rely on this quiet strength because they know it is rooted in consistency rather than impulse. This way of living is not achieved overnight. It is built through countless ordinary moments. It is found in choosing patience when frustration rises, choosing understanding when judgment feels easier, choosing forgiveness when resentment appears justified, and choosing hope when discouragement whispers that nothing will change. Each wise response strengthens character just as each impulsive reaction weakens it. Over time, these small decisions shape the person you become. Eventually, wisdom becomes more natural than reaction. What once required great effort begins to flow with quiet confidence. You no longer feel compelled to answer every insult or prove yourself in every disagreement. Your decisions become slower, calmer, and more intentional because they are guided by principles rather than passing emotions. You begin to realize that true power has never been found in controlling other people. It has always been found in mastering yourself. And in that mastery, you discover a freedom that no circumstance can steal, a peace that no criticism can disturb, and a quiet strength that shines not through loud declarations, but through consistent actions, thoughtful choices, and a heart that has learned to let wisdom speak before emotion ever has the chance